Welcome to Wellbeing Wednesdays with Harbinder Narula on BW Wellbeing World. This week, on this episode, we have a celebrity chef, Harpal Singh Sokhi, who is a well known chef known for his remarks, Namak Shamak. He's celebrated and award winning chef who has made the process of cooking relatable and enjoyable. Let's speak to Chef Harpal on his journey, what he thinks about food in relation to Ayurveda, and how important it is to consume food on time. Let's also understand his journey of how he got into cooking in the first place. So, welcome to BW Wellbeing World, Chef Harpal. Let
Thank you,
me
sir.
begin with the first question that with the very distinctive culinary and presentation techniques that you have curated, you have actually reinvented the food programming, you know. And what impact have these programs, particularly on social media, had on people's interest in careers in the food industry?
Okay, thank you so much, Business World, for having me up in this show here right now. So it's a very interesting thing, which actually takes me to some years back in my career when I had just started, serious television. So that's the time I realized that people who were doing television on food were kind of creating a relationship of student and teacher. It was a little serious subject. People were taking it very seriously, and many of the youngsters were not willing to honestly be part of the kitchen or take up food or chef as a career choice. So over the years that I spent in the kitchen, that period, that 2010, that is the time when I realized that the youngsters are not inclined towards TV, and it's only because they don't find any humor, they don't find fun in it. So what I did was, while I was drafting this whole Turban Tadka, which is the most popular show on television, I wanted something which people would get hooked on to, not because of my cooking, but because of the character that you would build it, and bring in the fun element in the kitchen, and bring in ease of cooking. So that is something which I did in my television show, and based on that, the whole program was created. And I as an individual person, I know that I bring in a lot of humor, lot of I would say fun whenever I am around as a person within my group of friends, or when I'm in the kitchen. So those elements I tried to incorporate in my show, and that got hooked on to people, and people thought that, oh yes, cooking is easy, it's a lot of fun. So that became so popular that every individual thought that no, it's not a serious subject, it's a subject which is a lot of fun, lot of activity, and a lot of happiness. So people started getting hooked on to cooking slowly, and they thought that no, whatever Chef Arpal is showing on TV is easily replicable at home. So that's the journey I saw, that I transformed the whole subject of seriousness into fun, into happiness, into everybody can cook subject, and that actually uh, brought a lot of people into the stream, and people actually took us as heroes, not just me, but a lot of stream of chefs who were on television. Looking at them, each one had his own genre, had his own style. But my style was something which brought in happiness, brought in love, brought in fun. People expected that, yes, man, it's easy. Let's do it, man. No problem. Hey, we can cook at home. Anybody can cook. And the Namak Shamak tagline that happened on food show Turban Tadka, that also became such a rage that I always call that as food anthem of India. That when a group of families is sitting dining in the house, they all come out to laughter the moment say, "Oh, namak shamak dena, namak shamak." So just passing the salt as a subject, whether it is adding salt while cooking food, or it is just while dining, bringing in laughters in the family. So that subject of mine, where I brought in happiness and fun into cooking, hooked on to a lot of people on social media, on television, and God has been kind. I would say that the Namak Shamak became so popular that uh, it really caught on across the world, and cooking was taken as a hobby also by many people.
Got it. Got it. So, Chef Harpal, you actually, what I understand is you made cooking real, made cooking relatable. And,
Correct.
what was really good, as I understand, is that it's not just about being able to cook the right food with the right flavor and the right taste, but to enjoy the process of cooking. That's a brilliant
Yes.
initiative that you've really brought
Yes.
to it. Now, Chef Harpal, while we talk about cooking and making food tasty using these spices, you
Absolutely.
are recognized for incorporating Ayurveda in your recipes. And
Right.
can you share with us certain principles of Ayurveda that you include in your cooking?
Sure. So I must share this. When I was a budding chef, I was working with a lot of ustads. During our days, we did not have too many of people who were educated in the subject of Indian kitchen. So that time, we realized that what was important was that how do you understand what the ustad is doing? So one fine day, I asked my ustad that, his name was Ramvilan. I said, Ustad ji, ये आप गोभी में सिर्फ अदरक ही क्यों डालते हो? कुछ और क्यों नहीं डालते हो? तो he said, नहीं, हमारे उस्ताद ने बताया तो हम डालते हैं. मैं कहा नहीं, ये this is not the correct answer. What should be the correct answer? So after a lot of inquisitivity, I realized that I must go and find the answers in Ayurveda. So I started buying Ayurvedic books. I started going through them. I started realizing that, okay, this is why this is happening. So I got some answers in a lot of the books that I was reading on Ayurveda. It's like the yin and yang of Chinese kitchen, okay? So everything is an antidote. And you need an antidote when you are cooking food or when you are eating. For example, cauliflower's antidote is ginger, hence the garnish is ginger, which then I could tell my juniors that, this is why ginger is added. So that is the why. So it is that in Hindi, as we say, understanding the tasir of food. So if you understand the tasir, which means what the property of food, then you can build in an antidote. Watermelon, ginger powder, and black salt is so important. Papaya, lemon is so important. Okay. And I also remember that once in summers, since I live in Bombay, I had gone to my hometown in Kharagpur, which is in West Bengal. And peak summer, about 47, 48 degree in the evenings, I was making tea. I crushed some ginger and added to the boiling water, and I was making tea. And my mother, who was standing behind, she asked me, "What are you doing, Harpal? Why are you adding ginger?" I said, "In Bombay, we add ginger throughout the year." He said, "Don't you see how hot it is outside, and you're adding ginger, increasing the heat of whatever you are making?" So then I realized that these basic things are known to all the ladies and women, as we call Dadi Ma ke nuske. So these basic things are known to everybody, and these need to be revived. So these are principles of basic Ayurveda which we all need to understand. Salted lassi. Why only cumin powder? Why not dhania powder on top? So cumin is the antidote. Lassi, for example, if you're making lassi, rose essence, perfume, happiness, it kind of invigorates your senses, and that's how your digestive system becomes better. So small things become very important. Another very important thing I would tell you that recently we are opening a restaurant, Karigiri, and while I was discussing on the menu planning, so it is peak summers here now, almost summer starting April is the month now. And we were discussing menu, and I said, okay, let's have some gobi items, cauliflower items in the menu. All my fellow colleagues and investors said, Harpal chef, no. In North India, people stop eating gobi in summers, cauliflowers in summers. I said, why is that? He said, because cauliflower is a winter vegetable. Okay. And so very true. So first thing is that we must consume things that are seasonal, and then you need to understand the properties of food and accordingly plan out your meal patterns. So you can't just do anything you feel like, okay? For example, every dal needs desi ghee. It's because lentil and desi ghee. So the blend is right. Vitamin A and vitamin D. So that blend is right. Only then your digestive system is behaving normal. So as we all say that, anything wrong that you consume will affect your flora and fauna in your gut. And that is going to affect you in the long run. Because if your gut flora and fauna is disturbed and there's a layer formed on it, then there is a challenge. Then you understand that you start creating problems, you start building up diseases in your body. And this is a slow process and this is not easily reversible. So you must practice the art of consuming the right food and the right way. So very, very important. Just don't drink. I mean, you can't just have tea and lassi together, right? They're not meant to be had together. You just can't have anything at any point of time. You can't have a soft drink and dairy mixed together. No, you can't do it. You can't have fruits and milk blended together in milkshakes. It's not right. So what you need to do is understand what you are consuming, and accordingly you need to incorporate them in your diet, and that's what will help you uh, lead a healthier life. So these are little things that excited me while I started learning Ayurveda, because in totality to practice Ayurveda in my kitchen is difficult, but somewhere you can build those principles and then tell people also that this is why you do this is why you do that, and bring in all those old dadi ma ke nuske back into the life, so that the young generation understands, and they just don't do no they just don't pass it off by saying no, this is okay, man, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter is not the right word. It matters actually, and we all need to understand the times that we are passing through are times where food is playing the role of medicine, and you need to have corrective measures of having your meals and meals in the right way. You just can't have anything. Small changes, if you bring in, they help you lead a better life, a more livelier life. You will feel fresh, lighter. So I started learning this, started incorporating them in my kitchen, and I also started incorporating them in my cooking, and passing it across to people wherever I can. So that's the way I learn. I keep learning Ayurveda and keep sharing those examples. Like another classic thing I'll tell you, in my restaurant, it is generally believed that Indian food is quite rich and heavy. And we have a dish called mirchi ka halwa. And I work very closely with a doctor, Omkar Bilgi, in Bombay. And when I made him taste the mirchi ka halwa, he immediately started telling me, Harpal, what have you done? It's such a brilliant thing. I said, why, what happened? He said, the whole heavy meal that I had is simply digested by this mirchi ka halwa. And people who have sinus, people who have blocked nose, they all will have everything cleared up. So it was such a beautiful thing to know and learn that this simple dish is creating such a beautiful health factor in my menu. So those little things are what I'm doing slowly, learning them, incorporating them in the restaurant also, because restaurant food is generally considered sinful. And how do you balance it out in such a way? So I learned sattvic elements also in cooking, and those sattvic elements were also incorporated in my cooking. So I realized that sattvic element helped food become lighter. So whenever people eat in my restaurant, they say your restaurant is unlike all other Indian restaurants where you generally feel bloated. Here we don't feel bloated. We feel nice and happy. And that's those little learning that is a continuous process of my learning. which I'm incorporating in my cooking and in my restaurant, and I'm spreading that across to people.
That is really nice. So, Dr. Chef Harpal, one of the things that I noticed that you've been using the word learning. So that's a
Yeah,
very beautiful statement because, at this stage with the kind of celebrity status that you have, you are so humble to say that, you're learning new things, you're incorporating them in your practice of cooking food. And not only
absolutely.
that, but you're sharing it with other people so that it can't be passed off as कि ये ritual है हमें बताया गया था इसलिए डालते हैं क्यों डालते हैं वो नहीं पता है so
Correct.
so nice of you to bring this up chef you have been on TEDx, you've been a speaker on TEDx, and I remember
Right.
mentioning that a family dining together is happiness,
Absolutely.
and I also have heard Sister Shivani saying that, when everybody is sitting together, there's a lot of love that is passed. The person who cooks, their mental state also showcases a joyous state of mind.
Absolutely.
What I want to hear from you is your understanding of what needs to be done today when, one, there are nuclear families. Second is, unlike we had one TV at home, now every piece of device is a TV and everybody is sitting and eating food at their own time, different
Right.
foods in their own rooms. What do you think needs to happen? What is something that you have experienced while you observe people eating food?
Absolutely. So the first thing is, again, I will rewind this whole journey of mine in my life. I remember as a family living in Kharagpur, we were 6 in a family. We never dined out in a restaurant. We never. Until 18 years of age, we never dined out. Even if we had to eat pani puri, my elder brother would go with all those utensils, okay, dolu and all that, and get the pani puri. And my father would sit right in the center in the chair, and we would all sit beside him. He would make pani puri and give it to us. And that is such a beautiful memory. I cannot believe. I keep talking about this time and again. And even if we are having a dosa, so dosa will come from outside. He will cut it and give it to all of us. And it's such a beautiful thing for us that those things I cannot forget. And I still say that, yes, what you're rightly saying, that families have become nuclear. Each one is having food at its own time. But through this medium that I'm talking now, I believe that there should be one day kept or one meal kept where the family should come together and dine together. I still know that my wife makes it a kind of practice that when all children and we are together, we will all dine together. And at that point of time, we focus is food. The focus is about family and nothing else, nothing beyond that. We are all talking about food. We are all talking beautifully. And even if you don't talk, let me tell you this. This is the most important thing. Even if you don't talk, just the presence of people makes you feel happy. That vibe that the family is together is a beautiful vibe. And I tell you, this is something which we must practice. Look at how Southeast Asia people practice. Even though they live in small houses, they don't have kitchens in the homes. But in the evening, when all of them leave from the office, they would meet in a food court and they would go and pick up their own food, come and sit together in a table and have the meal, discuss, and then disperse to their own homes. So it's such a beautiful practice. Although they are not living together, yet they are all coming together at one point of time and getting that family experience together. That's something wonderful, and I want that should be a practice. Although life in the country right now for urbanites are becoming difficult, is definitely becoming difficult, and in this time, it's important that somewhere all those who are in nuclear families also should come together or make a practice at least once a week that they come together, or the children all come together and decide that one should have one meal, and then that one meal, even in silence, actually brings in so much of peace and mental peace for the head of the family. For me as a father, I know that when I see both my daughters sitting with me and dining, it is mental peace for me. And that is the love. That gets into the food. And the person who actually cooks food, his happiness is no boundaries. Like in my restaurant, I'm getting emotional about this. In my restaurant, I thrive only for one thing: to see happy, smiling faces as guests. When I go and reach out to them on their tables, when the moment they are happy, they turn their head and they look at me and they say, "The smile, that's it." And my job is done. Even though I might have worked for 16 hours, my job is done. And I'm sure a woman who cooks at home, a mother who cooks at home, she only gets happy as an Indian mother, I would say, to see happy faces of the children, a complete meal that she serves to the children. If that plate gets empty, her happiness has no boundaries then. She is the happiest that, I have done the right job. And that is why I must tell you, Narula Saab, that women generally don't experiment too much with recipes, because for them, what they cook regularly and what their children like regularly is what they want to cook. Because for them, if the child leaves food, that is not happiness. And that is the reason, as a chef, when we are on TV, we are teaching people, we try to teach the first thing, that it is easy to make and it is tasty and it will be loved by everybody. And that is a very fine line, which I practice in my cooking also. And I tell you, the person who cooks only wants to see happy faces, empty plates, and he's done. However hard work is done, he's the most happiest to see at the end of the day that everybody is lapped it up, what is cooked.
I completely understand that, because when I see my mother-in-law cook, she is driven to cook because people enjoy the food that she makes. And, completely understand the family aspect of eating together. I remember as a child, having a watermelon in the morning used to be a ritual. That, everybody comes together, the watermelon is cut, and, everybody's getting a slice of that.
Absolutely.
Or the extended family coming together. We used to call it a bada khana. That
Yes.
all the extended family comes together once a month to have a meal together. So, Chef Harpal, we've heard the statement that pati ko khush rakhne ka rasta uske peet se hai. But
Correct.
today we are living in a world which is beyond the gender biases. I mean, we've seen a chef in you. What is your take on the role of cooking by a man in the house?
So it's honestly very important for a man to be part of the cooking process. Okay, generally in India, we are, I would say, a lot blessed. The male genre should understand this clearly, that they are a blessed set of men born in India who are actually fed by their mothers until they grow up. Then they are fed by their wives uh, uh, until the whole process. So the women folk generally take lot of pride in cooking. Okay, it's happiness for them. It is the true sense of happiness for a woman. But it's about time, as we are becoming nuclear and the whole process is becoming double income. So the process in urban cities, at least, is seeing definitely a shift where the male member is also taking part actively in cooking. Might not be for at home, I would say that might not be a professional way, but he definitely wants to be actively present in cooking, because if two people are working throughout the day and then coming back home, one person cannot take the entire, task of cooking and then serving it to the family. So it is generally both people come together and cook. And I've seen that shift that is clearly visible in today's world. And I must tell you that the children are the happiest when they see their father cooking. You see, they take a lot of pride in saying that my father cooked this food today. And that joy is absolutely different. Of course, nobody can replace a mother, but the children have super joy. And actually, the experimentation of dishes happen only when the male member enters the kitchen. Of course, I would say that there is kind of a little fear factor also. Nay, the way the male member cooks, he will always say that no, this is the way it will happen. So everybody will quietly eat, and probably a new recipe will enter the house. However, having said this, it becomes important when the family cooks together, they enjoy the food, and the children also understand that there is a difficult process of cooking. The value of food is understood by everybody in the family. So there is no wastage, no fuss about eating, no fuss about defining that I will not eat this. No, it is not to my liking. They all understand that there is a strenuous process while somebody cooks food, and let's respect that. And also during this process, the parents kind of pass on the knowledge that how expensive it is, how to manage a house, how to manage your fridge, what is the value of the farmer, when they start sharing these things about food within the family and the children, importance of food right from the farm to the table is understood very, very well by children. And I think when this happens, I think there's a lot of respect for food in a family. So it's very important that the family should cook together. Where there is nuclear family, the male member should definitely be part of the system of cooking, even though he might not be a pro, but he could at least help the lady in cooking. Everybody and thinks, we all think that, we go to work and someone behind has nothing to do. But there is more work for the lady behind at home because she has to do the entire housekeeping of the house to ensure that it looks good, nice, and gives you a good feel. In the office, there are peons for the man who would do everything, okay, clean up everything. There's somebody in the office who would come and give you tea. Okay, you have ample of choice of discussing, having fun with family and friends, with friends actually in the office. But at home, there is one person who's religiously cooking, and there's a lot of respect for that cooking. I think it should be highly appreciated at every time, even though at times there could be mishaps. But it's the moral responsibility of everybody to appreciate every time. I personally do not even open my mouth at times when I travel, come back home. My wife is very happy that she keeps cooking for me. And sometimes when there's a lot of work, I go do dishwashing, I do prep, and I do keep helping her. Sometimes I cook on Sundays for her, for the family, or when the family requests that you make today this, so I go and make. So it becomes very important, how do you kind of indulge and involve everybody in the kitchen. And in today's world, it's important for the children to learn this subject, because the most important thing in India is that the mother never teaches the son, that it is your job also to take care of the house and the kitchen. So in India, that is something which is laid back. In India, it is always thought that the man is only supposed to work outside of the house and the woman inside of the house. But the man should be taught, the boy should be taught by the mother that as you grow up, you will probably get married. It is your responsibility also that, you should be part of everything that is in the house. And that makes a little more happier family, I think. It's very important.
So participation in the kitchen is important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Who motivated you to become a chef?
Honestly, I would say, this was very subjective, and it was not motivation that drove me to become a chef. It was a necessity that made me enter the field of hospitality. So I belong to a very small state, very small town called Kharagpur in West Bengal. So there you have only two choices for as a career. Either you go to IIT Kharagpur or you join railways. So in IIT Kharagpur, probably everybody does not pass through the first attempt. So I also did not pass through the first attempt. And in the second attempt, I started the process. We had a neighbor who had done hotel management. And after his hotel management, he was immediately employed. So my actually elder brother, who was also undergoing the process of, constantly giving interviews and those written tests of UPSC and banking services and railway commission and all that. So early days, they were a challenging task. That was actually a very challenging task. And it was important that the male member immediately takes up the responsibility of, supporting the family. So my elder brother said that I am under this process. If you also start this process, then probably the time that we both as male members support the family will be little late. So why don't you join a skilled course which gives you employment immediately? And we looked at the neighbor, and he immediately got the job, came back suited, booted, and we were all happy and thrilled to see that this is something which is very nice and I should take up a career in hospitality. So my brother filled up the form. I gave the joint entrance. I got through in IHM Bhubaneswar, went to do the course. And before that, believe me, as I always keep saying, until 18 years of age, I had not stepped into a hotel. I had not stepped into a restaurant. We were amongst those boys who would drink chai at a tapri or in the corner, and maybe, in West Bengal, as we call those pyaz ke pakode, pyazi. So we would have pyazi. That was probably once in 2 months kind of a celebration between friends, where my mother would accumulate some money and give me to enjoy that period. So I went to join hotel management without knowing ABC of hotel management. Somehow, while I was doing hotel school, I went with an intention to become a waiter, because I thought that waiter ban jayenge, kamai kar lenge fatafat. So I went with that intention, but when I joined there, in the first 3 months, I realized that there is something called chef as a profession in hospitality, and I started liking it. And that liking probably converted into a godsend signal that I said that, okay, this is something which is very exciting, and it is coming from my heart that I should continue pursuing this whole subject. And from then onwards, I did not look back. So whatever was required to become a good chef, I started acquiring those skills. So whether it was working hard, whether it was buying books, because there was no internet at that time. And there were ustads who would never teach you. It was a very hard way of learning from those ustads. They would beat you, they would probably make you wash utensils throughout the day. And sometimes you would be getting depressed about these things. But since the mental state was clear that no, I have to pursue this, uh, and there is no looking back. So I actually went in with that process of actually acquiring a job early days, but went on. I actually found my passion, I would say, while I was studying. So when I found that passion, I said, okay, let's, pursue this, and let's take this as a career. And then there was no looking back. And seriously, that's how I became a chef. Uh, then the motivation was actually felt that the whole family came together in supporting me. So my father would, take clippings of Jigs Kalraji in newspapers, or recipes that would come in newspapers. He would cut those newspaper clippings and keep it for me. So whenever I would go back home, he would say that, okay, I have collected these kind of clippings. This would be helpful for you. So then the family started supporting, and then he would say that, okay, I found this for you. Why don't you go and look at this? So that's the whole process. That support, that love, that I know that everything, I would say, came together and helped me become a good chef. And this is what where I am today, I would say.
So, it is your passion that actually helped you undergo or go through all the challenges that you found on the way,
Absolutely.
until the whole universe and everybody around you came together to support you and inspire you. Beautiful journey. Chef Harpal, since you said that, once in a while you cook at home for your family,
Absolutely.
what is that one dish that your family enjoys when you cook?
So, my family, I remember when I cooked mutton biryani for the first time for my wife, she loved it. And then she would always say that, why don't you cook mutton biryani for us? For or because I run restaurants and I do great kebabs and dal in my restaurant, my children would always say that, can you do the same dal at home? Or can you do the same hara bhara kebab that you do in your restaurants in our house itself? So these are certain dishes that the family enjoys and they really relish them a lot because they have tasted. Somewhere they have also seen these things that I mastered over the years. So they are very passionate. I mean, I'm very passionate about things that I cook closely. But I would definitely say that yes, in this process, my wife is also a great cook, and she cooks some things that are fantastic. And I incorporated her signature things in my menu at Karigiri.
Lovely, lovely. That's called real partnership. Chef Harpal,
Absolutely.
when we talk about food and related to health, the timing of eating your food is also important. So apart from eating right, eating at the right time is supposed to
Yes.
be good. Can you share as to what happens inside our body that makes us want to eat food on time?
So classic examples, which I recently did some corrections in my lifestyle. We all eat biscuits with tea in the morning as we go through the newspaper and flip. I realized that I'm eating so much of refined flour that knowingly, unknowingly, at times I would gulp down 8, 9 biscuits in the morning. And then in the day also, my peon in my office would serve me biscuit and I would gulp them also down. I said, no, this is not the right thing. Let me flip this over to, roasted chana in the morning or boiled chana with tea. I did that. I seriously started feeling good. I seriously started seeing that there was a correction happening in my body. During COVID, one fantastic thing happened with me is that I became a disciplined man when I was in Bombay. When I'm in Bombay, I'm an absolutely disciplined man. I eat my dinners before 7:30 and give a time of at least 3 hours before I hit the bed. So that is a perfect thing to do. I also started reducing my carbs intake in the evening and restricted that. I eat carbs in the morning because I know throughout the day I would be busy doing my shoots or cooking or be in the restaurants. So I keep the intake of carbs in the morning, okay, and I continue that. In the evening, I keep it absolutely light. Sometimes I have my dinner at 6 o'clock, okay, and I'm very happy about it. So these little things with corrections that I did, they are really helping me, and they're really making. I would say that I can really see the change and feel the change within my body. And also, I tell you that okay, I started balancing out my meals. Okay, I had this in the morning, I will have this in the afternoon, and I will have so in the morning, if it is a nice little upma or idli vada sambar, in the afternoon it will be chapati with little dal, okay, and some salad and food. In the evening, it could be just a soup, okay, or one chapati with little sabzi. That's it. So I corrected that, and I'm really telling you, if people correct this, if they are having high cholesterol, also everything will be balanced out well. You can start your day with great fruits. Okay, we do that at least 3 to 4 times in a week. I only eat fruits in the morning, and in the lunch is the time when I have my proper lunch. And after lunch, at times the next meal is the next day's breakfast. There's nothing in between. So kind of an intermittent fasting also is happening. Kind of correction is happening. Your body is feeling lighter. You are feeling lighter. You have a, I would say, better sense of understanding. Your mind starts working better. So a lot of correction when body, when body understands that now it is not overworking. The metabolism system is not overworking. So if you ask the body to overwork, okay, then you are in a challenging mode. Like for example, if you eat at 10 o'clock and go to sleep at 10:30, 11, so your digestive system, your food is still in the stomach and you have gone to sleep. While you are sleeping, your body should produce or regenerate cells, and dead cells should be corrected. but your body is working on digesting food. So new cells are not being generated. So it's very important to do that. Unfortunately, I see that COVID helped me a lot in correcting all this, because otherwise, the lifestyle that I was in, opening restaurants, running around here and there, I was not correcting myself. Now, this was the forced thing that happened in COVID, and I corrected. Now, even if I travel, I know for sure that at 7 I am out. I'm not eating after that. I'm done for the day. If there is food tasting, it happens in the lunchtime. It is not going to happen in the dinner. If anybody wants food tasting, I will give them food, but I will not do the tasting. I will do it in the afternoon and keep away from everything in the dinner. So it's very important. Body gives you actually all these signals and tells you that, hello, it is time for you to correct. Please do the correction. And you get those triggers. It is not that you don't get those triggers. You get those triggers. You need to understand those triggers, and you need to correct those that particular lifestyle statement within you, so that you correct your metabolism, you correct your body.
So, Chef Harpal, I have a question for you before I let you
Yes.
go. And that question is related to food habits. And since you mentioned in one of your answers that you studied the Sattvic food,
Yes.
what is the relation of food with spirituality and well-being? How do you equate and influence these?
Yes. So it's very, very important. Again, we are very blessed that I have not read very deeply, okay, but our scriptures definitely mention a lot about food, okay, and they tell you how to eat, what not to eat. They absolutely tell you Ritu Kal. They absolutely teach you about the seasons. They absolutely teach you about natural produce, and that is what you should consume. It is absolutely clear that the geographical area that you are staying in, that 100-kilometer produce is that is your food, okay, and that is what you should consume. I'll give you a classic example, Narula Sahab. Many a times I interact with these sadhus, these educated sadhus. I won't say that they're educated sadhus, okay, who have taken siddhi and lived the life. One of them had come to my studio, and I asked him, sir, aap kitne padhe likhe? He said, sir, I have studied BCom mathematics. So I said, did you not think about taking up a corporate lifestyle? He said, I did think, but then suddenly there was an inner calling that happened, and then I took up sannyasi as a career. And the first time I found a guru somewhere in the jungles outskirts of Pune, I went to live with him. That Guruji first told me that you go to the jungle and survive in 3 days. Okay, 3 days you survive yourself and come back. And he said that I didn't know what to do. I was not given anything. And after 3 days, when I did not come to the ashram, so Guruji sent disciples, and they found me lying down in the jungle, okay, half unconscious kind of thing. And when he came back and he narrated to the Guruji, he said, what did you do? He said that I started eating leaves of trees in jungle. He said, how did you eat leaves of trees? But whatever leaves I found, I was feeling hungry, I ate. So he said the first rule book is, if you are eating vegetation, eat what the monkeys eat. You will thrive. If the monkey is eating a particular leaf or a fruit, you eat. You will never get harmed. So it's very important. You see, it's a very simple thing, such a simple thing. That how do you thrive? This, I was like awakened to see this. And it's very simple that I was also working with a great MBA corporate guy who gave up all his corporate lifestyle and went into sustainable farming in the jungles with the tribals. And he was clear. He says, Harpal, in jungles, the tribal people eat only what is natural vegetation. So when it rains, there are various sprouts that come out. So they understand those sprouts very well, and they take out those sprouts, and they do not cook so much, overcook like we overcook food. They do not overcook food. They just saute it for some And their other thing is they do not eat any kind of flour. Now, that's because probably the person was working around in Maharashtra, where the core was, rice as a staple food. So he said, but tribals eat only rice. So that is the only thing they cultivate. And that is the only thing that is part of their agriculture produce in the plate. Everything else is natural vegetation. So that was a beautiful thing which he said that even salt, they understand that which leaves are little tangy and sour. That is what is added to cooking, and that brings in the taste in the food. And I was so amazed, and I've gone through these many ingredients that he had brought to my studio. And so it's very important to know that around your geographical area that you're living, you would eat that. And since you're born around that area, you've thrived around that area, hence you would always love what is happening. So like not everybody loves cooking in mustard oil, but those who are born around those areas where mustard oil was a staple oil of cooking, they only like food that is cooked in mustard oil. Some places, like if people are born around in Surat, they know peanut oil is what, because peanut is the major source of agriculture and oil, and the produce is higher there. So it's very important to understand the geographical area that you are around, and you eat that natural vegetation, you will not be harmed. Sometimes I always hear this, that fruits are bad for health. No, they are all natural. They're absolutely good. And they are natural sugars. They are not going to harm you, but eat them. They are the best thing. So natural vegetation is the best thing. Overcooked food is not advisable, I would say. Cook it only up to an extent where you can eat that food, because not everybody is so used to eating raw. So your meal should be such balanced that at least one salad, like a cucumber salad, should be there in the meal. And if you can make the cucumber salad with onions, cucumbers, cabbage, and keep it for 6 hours before consuming, so the probiotic elements start working around that salad. And when you consume that, it becomes very good. So these are little things that are simple, can be incorporated in everybody's life for their well-being.
That's brilliant, Chef Harpal. I mean, I've really enjoyed this conversation because, I did not want to have a conversation which was a typical in terms of recipes, etc. We wanted to understand the relation of food with
Right.
the person's well-being. And I think you've startled everyone by sharing your knowledge about yourself, relation with spirituality, etc. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ji. Thank you.